All right, let's really dive into this whole Beyonce and Jay-Z situation, because honestly, it's a lot messier and way more complicated than anyone was ready for.
Jay-Z is setting Diddy up. He ain't doing different.
Rumors are flying everywhere. Leaked audio tapes keep surfacing, and now federal prosecutors are reportedly gearing up with some seriously heavy accusations. If you listen to what the insiders are whispering, Beyonce and Jay-Z aren't just innocent bystanders getting caught in the blast zone. They might actually be the next big names under the microscope in this entire mess. So let's take a step back and really lay out what's going on. Things started to boil over when Diddy's trial really kicked off. And we're not talking about some half-baked gossip. This is truly explosive. Testimonies dropping bombshells, court filings exposing ugly secrets, and tapes leaking that have sent shockwaves through the entire entertainment industry. But here's the real twist. It's not just Diddy who's feeling the heat. Prosecutors are allegedly preparing to shift their focus to some of his closest associates, people with just as much fame and influence. And right at the top of that list, Beyonce and Jay-Z. Now, this isn't just tabloid nonsense with no backing. Sources close to the situation are saying wild things like, Jay-Z is setting Diddy up. He's no different. What does that even mean? It suggests Jay might be playing a long game here, protecting himself by pushing Diddy under the bus. Meanwhile, there's talk that Beyonce is already canceling parts of her upcoming tour. And get this, they might actually be preparing to leave the country together. Not for a luxury vacation, but as a calculated move to stay clear of the fallout. The buzz is they're eyeing a move like Russell Simmons did, disappearing to a country with no extradition treaty in case this legal firestorm turns into a full-on blaze. For years, people thought Jay-Z was the one deep in Diddy's wild party scene, with Beyonce just along for the ride. But now there are new claims that she wasn't some clueless plus one. Instead, she may have been right there in the middle of it, fully aware and involved in the alleged freak-off lifestyle that's become the center of the scandal. With prosecutors closing in, it seems both of them are scrambling to get ahead of this mess before it completely consumes them. And here's the part that really stings. Before everything went sideways, Jay and Diddy were like brothers. Their bond was tight. Jay was reportedly one of only two people allowed to call Diddy by his real name, Sean, the other being Diddy's own mother. That's not your average friendship. That's family-level closeness. They weren't shy about it either. Jay and Beyonce used to have Diddy over every year at their famous Rock Nation brunch. He was a regular, and for years their friendship seemed solid. But when the Cassie lawsuit exploded in the headlines, that all changed. Diddy was suddenly iced out, like he'd never existed. Even so, people never forgot their history together. Cutting him off didn't erase the rumors or the ugly questions. And one story that really sent the gossip mill into overdrive came courtesy of none other than rapper Baby. His account peeled back the curtain on a night most people couldn't even imagine. Back in 2020, Baby claimed he was invited to a super exclusive, invite-only party at Diddy's massive LA mansion, a place where the walls have probably heard secrets darker than anyone wants to admit. This wasn't your typical flashy celebrity bash. It was an extremely private event with only a select few guests, every single one vetted and kept way off the radar. All right, let's really talk about this party, because it wasn't just any glamorous industry event. It was something way more unsettling. Among those reportedly in attendance, none other than Jay-Z and Beyonce. You'd think names that big would be all over the tabloids for showing up somewhere so private. But this wasn't the usual red carpet vibe. According to the account that leaked, the whole atmosphere was exclusive and ultra-high profile. Sounds fancy, right? But if you scratch beneath the surface, it felt downright sinister. People described a heavy tension in the air, a kind of freak-off vibe, if you will, that made everyone uneasy. It wasn't the kind of party where people laughed and toasted success. It felt more like an unspoken pact among the industry's most powerful figures. Everyone on edge, all too aware of darker currents running underneath. That night became a key clue for online sleuths who started piecing together things that previously didn't seem connected at all. Suddenly, the once separate worlds of Jay-Z, Beyonce, Diddy, and a handful of other big names started to look suspiciously tangled up. As more rumors, leaks, and shady details began to emerge, It became clear these weren't isolated incidents. They were threads in a much larger, messier web. The deeper people dug, the uglier and more complicated it got. And believe me, it only gets wilder from here. Dark accusations, Aaliyah, power plays. All right, buckle up, because this next part about Jay-Z's past isn't for the faint of heart. It's the kind of thing that can make you question everything you thought you knew about the man and his empire. For years, this particular story was little more than hush gossip, whispered in back rooms and dismissed outright. But now that more people are talking, it's raising eyebrows in a big way. Picture this. Years ago, there were rumors that Jay-Z was involved with rapper Foxy Brown when she was just 15 years old. 15. That's disturbingly young. Jay-Z spent a lot of time trying to bury that rumor or rewrite the narrative entirely. For a long while, it stayed buried in whispers and online forums, nothing officially confirmed or denied. But then there was the moment that really made people sit up. Dame Dash, Jay-Z's former business partner, someone who actually knew the real Jay beyond the mogul image, was asked about those rumors in a pretty raw interview. And instead of denying anything, Dame got visibly uncomfortable. He squirmed in his seat and told the interviewer, "That's a question for Jay. Don't ask me." He refused to confirm or deny anything himself. That kind of evasive answer, it says a lot without saying anything at all. Sometimes silence is its own admission. But that's not even the full picture. Add in Jay-Z's long-documented professional relationship with R. Kelly, a man synonymous with scandal and controversy. They didn't just work on a track or two, they made an entire album together and toured side by side. They publicly supported each other for years. Insiders have pointed to this and said it's part of a disturbing pattern. One even put it bluntly. He's the acceptable monster at this time. Like R. Kelly was the last time I sat on this couch. Think about that. It's a chilling accusation that suggests society sometimes picks and chooses who it condemns, letting certain figures skate by despite serious red flags. When Dame Dash was finally asked why he cut ties with Jay-Z, he didn't mince words. He said it was because Jay never publicly distanced himself from R. Kelly, no matter how many scandals erupted. For a lot of people, that was a giant red flag, proof that something was deeply wrong behind the scenes. When people suggest that Jay-Z might be playing the same dangerous game as Diddy, projecting the image of a polished mogul while allegedly hiding darker, unspoken secrets, they might not be as far off the mark as some would hope. Bringing Beyonce into this complicated narrative only deepens the intrigue, making everything even messier and more intense with each passing day. Honestly, this is just scratching the surface. What's lurking underneath is far more unsettling than most want to imagine. On the outside, Jay-Z and Beyoncé's relationship has always been sold as the ultimate fairy tale. Think about it. Red carpets lit up with flashing cameras, iconic magazine spreads showing them at their flawless best, and perfectly staged interviews that paint them as the reigning power couple of the music world. Their public image is a masterclass in branding, untouchable royalty, the embodiment of success and influence. But if you peel back that glossy surface, the picture starts to look much less like a love story and far more like a calculated high-stakes chess match. Every move appears strategic. Every word is chosen carefully, and every relationship seems to serve a bigger business goal. Now that whispers of legal entanglements and shady dealings are starting to spread, people aren't buying the fairy tale so easily anymore. Investigators, industry insiders, and even fans have begun digging into how exactly they climbed to such heights. And what they're finding is deeply troubling. Jay-Z in particular has long shown a pattern that many in the industry have quietly noticed but rarely discussed openly. It's a striking duality, forging alliances with powerful, older men who run things behind the scenes, while also pursuing much younger, often up-and-coming women just breaking into the spotlight. This isn't some random coincidence. It looks like a deliberate strategy to build influence and maintain control. Consider the rumors about Foxy Brown when she was just a teenager. Whispers of exploitation, hush money, and silenced accusations that were quickly buried under layers of PR and intimidation. When those stories began to fade, attention turned to another rising star, Aaliyah. According to sources close to the inner circle, Jay-Z began courting Aaliyah shortly after the scandal around R. Kelly's illegal and controversial marriage to her exploded publicly. His approach was textbook power move, lavish gifts, exclusive invitations, and every bit of charm and industry clout he could muster. But Aaliyah reportedly wasn't buying it. Instead, she set her sights on Dame Dash, Jay-Z's own business partner at the time, creating an awkward and messy love triangle that blurred the line between business and personal drama. Insiders described the whole situation as a dark, twisted competition between Jay-Z and R. Kelly. It wasn't just two egos clashing, it was a power struggle for control and dominance, playing out in the shadows while the public only saw the polished headlines. This was never just about music. It was about manipulation, influence, and control at the highest levels. Machinery that most people never see, but plenty suspect exists. Rewind to a haunting moment on BET's 106 in Park, when Mary J. Blige, who's had her own history with Diddy's brand of behind-the-scenes manipulation, spoke candidly about Aaliyah's tragic death. Who was really pulling the strings behind the scenes? Who had the power and ruthless mindset to shape events in ways the public couldn't even imagine? It's the part of fame no one wants to see. The idea that even the brightest stars can get caught in webs of secrecy and manipulation, where untouchable industry giants may be hiding some of the darkest truths, blurring the line between myth and reality with silence, deception, and control. After closing one chapter of his life, Jay-Z reportedly shifted his focus firmly onto Beyoncé. At the time, she was very young, incredibly talented, but still figuring herself out in a brutal, cutthroat industry. Multiple sources close to her have said she had almost no personal life growing up. Her family, especially her mother, was deeply involved in every single decision, big or small, that affected her career. They managed nearly every aspect of her world, and when it came to dating, she was practically inexperienced, having only one boyfriend during high school. Enter Jay-Z, charming, highly connected, exuding the kind of power that demanded attention. The dynamic shifted dramatically. Jay once shared in an interview that he first met Beyoncé when she was only 16, but claimed he waited until she turned 18 to officially pursue her. But according to insiders, by the time she hit that legal milestone, he already had her completely within his sphere of influence. This wasn't some sweet teenage romance. It was allegedly a highly calculated power play. Beyoncé admired him, looked up to him, and he became the gatekeeper of her career and her life. Once he was in, he took charge of everything: her music, her public image, her relentless schedule, and even what little personal freedom she might have had left. And this is where things get even more troubling. Enter Uncle Ron, Beyoncé's former bodyguard, who's been making headlines with some explosive allegations. He claims that Jay-Z deliberately got Beyoncé dependent on various substances to keep her easier to manage. The alleged goal? To make sure she stayed reliant and didn't start pushing back or asking uncomfortable questions. This isn't just idle gossip. It's a disturbing pattern that sounds eerily similar to what Cassie alleged about Diddy, using addiction and manipulation to create a toxic environment that traps someone in a cycle of control. People close to Beyoncé say she's been trying to break free for years. She's reportedly exhausted by the constant oversight and manipulation, not just from Jay, but also from her own team and even her family. They say she feels like she's never truly lived life on her own terms, that she's been molded, shaped, and branded from day one. And now, as everything around her starts to unravel, the power, the image, the carefully maintained facade, she's reportedly nearing her breaking point. Some insiders claim she's been quietly laying the groundwork to disappear entirely, to sever every tie and vanish without a trace. Behind closed doors, she's reportedly opened up about her battles with depression, describing feeling completely trapped in a life that's more like a gilded cage than any kind of dream. One source even revealed that Beyoncé has wrestled with thoughts of ending it all, not because she wants to die, but because the relentless pressure and lack of any escape make it seem like there's no other option. This isn't just the story of a global superstar blinded by fame. It's a grim tale about power, control, and the crushing price of celebrity, where even the biggest names can find themselves prisoners behind their own golden bars. The fairy tale narrative begins to crumble. Meanwhile, here's the real reason the internet is buzzing, and fans are feeling seriously uneasy about Jay-Z and Beyoncé these days. Every move they make is being dissected under a microscope, and the overall vibe, it's not great. The die-hard fan base that once defended them without question is starting to ask tough, uncomfortable questions. How deep were they really involved in Diddy's entire scandal? Why do so many disturbing patterns seem to emerge once you start digging through their history? And the biggest question of all, why have they suddenly gone so silent, like they're hiding something massive? People started connecting the dots pretty quickly. Take the Rock Nation brunch, for example. It used to be the premier celebrity networking event, an exclusive invite everyone clamored for. Social media would blow up with posts about it, and Jay and Bey promoted it religiously. But after Diddy's scandal exploded, the brunch just vanished. No formal cancellation, no statement, just complete silence. And that silence? It speaks louder than any PR announcement could. Fans and industry insiders alike are convinced Jay and Beyoncé are doing everything they can to quietly fade into the background and avoid attention. Then there's the money angle, because money always tells a story. Rumors are swirling that Beyoncé has been carefully building a financial exit plan. Sources say she's been pulling out of major deals, renegotiating contracts behind the scenes, and even canceling tour dates, not because tickets wouldn't sell, but because she wants to lock down every last dollar before making any big moves. There are even whispers about a possible divorce in the works. But reportedly, Beyoncé wouldn't make anything public until she's certain her financial security is locked in and she's ready to cut Jay loose for good. But here's the twist. Word is that prosecutors caught wind of all these plans. That so-called divorce strategy, it's apparently shifted from a clean split to a let's just leave the country together scenario. Insiders claim they're actively scouting countries without extradition treaties, places where the US government couldn't legally force them back if charges were filed. We're talking about plans for luxury properties overseas, private off-the-grid compounds, even new identities. This isn't some dramatic rumor for gossip blogs. It's allegedly full-on survival mode. They've seen up close what's happened to Diddy, the raids, the relentless lawsuits, the media feeding frenzy, and they're desperate to avoid that kind of catastrophic fallout at any cost. What's really wild is just how quickly public perception flipped on these two. For years, Jay-Z was celebrated as the sharp, street-smart businessman who turned hustle into a billion-dollar empire. Beyoncé was the untouchable queen of music, flawless, commanding, and seemingly beyond reproach. But now all those carefully hidden cracks beneath their perfect image are starting to show. The tight control, the manipulation behind the scenes, the relentless obsession with maintaining a spotless brand, it's all bubbling to the surface. And people aren't buying the fairy tale anymore. It's a stark reminder that no matter how untouchable someone seems, everyone has shadows. And sometimes those shadows grow so large they can't be ignored. This time, both the internet and the law are paying very close attention. When Cassie's lawsuit first broke, the reaction was a mix of shock and skepticism. But as more details emerged, leaked recordings, corroborating witness accounts, consistent patterns, it became clear this was much bigger than one woman's story. Suddenly, the question on everyone's mind shifted. It wasn't just about Cassie anymore. It was about how many others might be caught in the same tangled web of secrets. How many powerful names knew what was really happening behind closed doors and chose silence because it benefited them? Jay-Z and Beyoncé had already been circulating in the rumor mill for years, but now their names are reportedly being quietly discussed in legal circles and court filings, which dramatically raises the stakes. This has moved far beyond simple tabloid gossip. It's serious. The danger feels real. Across social media and online communities, there's a growing movement demanding real consequences, not just the usual Twitter outrage, but actual legal accountability. There are calls to flag their passports to prevent any quiet exit from the country. Fans and activists alike are demanding thorough investigations to uncover the entire truth. What's most striking, and honestly, a bit unsettling, is that this pressure isn't just coming from haters or critics. It's coming from longtime fans who once idolized Beyoncé and Jay-Z, people who admit they'd been seeing warning signs for years, but chose to look away or hope for the best. Some fans are saying Beyoncé was never really free, that she's been trapped in this system for years, trying to find an escape route that no one noticed until now. Meanwhile, Jay-Z's own past is resurfacing in unhelpful ways. Old interviews, legal documents, and stories from former collaborators are coming back into the spotlight. The pressure is mounting, especially with Dame Dash, Jay's former business partner, flatly refusing to stay quiet or take the blame. He's hinted at even more revelations coming, and insiders are bracing for another wave of damaging information that could rock their empire. This whole situation has outgrown the label of mere celebrity scandal. It's about an empire built on extraordinary talent, ruthless power plays, and a thick veil of silence that's finally beginning to tear. That silence used to be their best protection, but the walls are closing in, public pressure is mounting, legal teams are circling, and the media is hungrier than ever for answers. It's no wonder there are rumors that Jay and Beyoncé are allegedly plotting to disappear, to protect themselves before it's too late. The big question hanging over all of this, will they really manage to vanish without a trace, slipping away before the full storm hits? Or will the truth finally catch up to them, tearing down everything they built? Only time will tell, but one thing's certain, this story is far from over.